Early in the 1400s, before Christopher Columbus was born, Englishmen were fishing in the waters around Iceland and having to pay Scandinavia for the privilege. Other European countries had similar arrangements, so when John Cabot told of seeing a great many fish around the Newfoundland, Englishmen and others were quick to go there. By 1502, a Portuguese mapmaker had drawn this map showing Greenland and the way to Labrador and Newfoundland. 2 centuries later, Newfoundland was well known. This English map of about 1709 showed the fishing banks and even the method of fishing and curing. The codfish were pitched up on wooden wharfs called stages, where they were cleaned and split, which means having the backbone cut out of them. Then they were salted. When they had been long enough in the salt, the fish were washed and finally spread out to dry. Salt cod was a good, cheap food which would keep without spoiling, which made it especially suited for warm climates. The industry grew, and the British government saw in it a useful training school of seamen for the Royal Navy. Later, the Navy turned to other means of getting sailors, but there were still hungry people who wanted fish. In 1859, when these drawings were made, the great markets for salt codfish were the Mediterranean, the West Indies, and Brazil, and they still are to this day. The coast of Newfoundland is fringed with headlands. These arms of rock often enfold bays of deep water, which form natural harbors for the fishing villages or outports. In such a Newfoundland outport in the summertime, there are the sounds of surf and the cries of seabirds, the smells of salt water and drying fish, houses painted yellow, orange, green, red, and all colors, a white church or two, brown nets and gear, gray rocks over which climb sheep, goats, cows, and horses, searching for grass among flowering shrubs, and always the blue-green changing sea. Sometimes fog hangs over all. But as long as the boats can go out, the men fish every day but Sunday. The busiest time for the inshore cod fishermen is from mid-June to early August, when traps are used. The cod trap is a box-shaped net closed at the bottom with an opening from which a long net stretches to the shore. When the fish come to this net, they follow it to the opening in the trap, and once inside, they seldom get out. Once or twice a day, the trap is hauled up, and the fish are scooped into the boat. Codfish are also caught by trawling and jigging. Both are very old methods, and unlike traps, they can be used the year round. By whatever means the fish are caught, from the time they're brought to shore, the process of curing is the same. Since 90% of the year's catch is taken all in a rush in the summer months, the whole family usually pitches in to help clean and cure the fish. The cod are opened, gutted, the heads broken off, and the backbones cut out. Here, apart from the body of the fish, only the livers are saved. From the livers comes cod liver oil and a coarser oil used for tanning leather, tempering steel, and making soap, oiled cloth, and poultry feeds. After this cutting, or splitting as it's called, the fish are washed in clean water and taken to the salt bulk pile. Each family has a small covered space on the stage or a shed on shore where they store their fish in salt. For centuries, solar salt, which is made by evaporating seawater in hot sunlight, has been brought to Newfoundland from Spain, Portugal, and the West Indies. Ships sail there loaded with cod and come back with salt. When the fish have lain in salt bulk about 8 or 10 days, the salt has drawn out a lot of the original moisture which their flesh contained. Then the leftover salt is washed off. Now sun and wind will finish drying the fish to the point where they will keep. They say that once there were trees around most outports, but in many outports the only timber standing now supports the stages and flakes or drying platforms. Cod fishermen have 3 chief worries. First, they must catch the fish. Then they have to get them dried. And last, hope that they will get a good price for them. Drying is often the most troublesome because there are usually very few good drying days. If the day is too hot, the fish will burn. If too damp, they become soggy. The best days are dry and sunny with a cool wind. Ever since records have been kept, salt cod has been measured in quintals, each quintal being 112 pounds, or 1/20th part of an English long ton. It takes roughly 4 quintals of fresh fish to make a quintal of dried, and about 50 square feet of space to dry a quintal. No space is wasted. After 6 to 10 days on the flakes, during which time the fish have been gathered up and flattened under weights each night, they are properly cured and ready for sale. In every outport, there is a merchant or his agent who buys fish. In the past, the fishermen were paid only with credit to be used at the merchant's store, but now many are paid in cash. A culler, working for the merchant, culls or sorts the fish according to size, thickness, and overall quality. The different culls will be sent to different places, for each market has its preferences. In southern Italy, people like hard-dried fish, lightly salted, while in northern Italy, small, thick, heavily salted fish are wanted. Some of the grades are named for the market where they are most popular, such as West India, and Madeira. Each grade of fish is weighed separately in 2-quintal lots, and the fisherman is paid by the rate for that grade. The fish then go into the merchant's stock, from which they are again culled, this time more strictly by government inspectors. When they've been approved as fit for a particular market, the salt codfish are finally packed. For 4.5 centuries, cod has been salted and dried by the same method. But now, newer ways of marketing fish are also used. In large plants, cod and other fish are filleted and packed while still fresh for quick freezing. Newfoundlanders are as much at home here as they were on the wooden stages. They change to meet the changing conditions of their life. Codfish was the first resource which drew people from across the seas to Canada. It remains, in whatever form it is prepared, an important product for Canadians and for people in other lands.